maybe I start by asking you the question on what is it that makes OP Jindal Global University different? I've been to the campus. It's a beautiful campus. Lovely
I'm
facilities.
hoping everyone can hear me. So, what makes OP Jindal Global University different? I think people, um, and people can talk about our campus and our facilities and our infrastructure all they want. Jindal Global University is made up of now 9 schools, which constitute the university of law, business, um, public policy, international affairs, liberal arts, banking and finance, art and architecture, um, journalism, and as well as environment and environmental studies. Now, what happens with each of these schools and each of these faculty members in each of these schools, they're coming together and working and teaching and living really in the same space. What this does is it helps us have a sense of interdisciplinarity where we get to learn from each other. We get to learn from each other's disciplines. We get to learn from each other's skills. And we put that all together in something called cross-listed electives. These are electives that are floated across schools. So, for example, a student of, let's say, the business school should be able to take up a course on, let's say, corporate governance offered by the law school. A student of the journalism school should be able to take up a course on urban planning, either offered by the public policy school or the School of Art and Architecture. That's one. Second, is the idea of student mobility. As of now, we have about 250 collaborations with partner universities from across the world. And every year we send out about 200 to 275 students on various student mobility programs, which could be short-term summer abroad programs, which could be semester exchange programs, or even dual degrees. So the concept of a dual degree is you start your university education here in India, and then you go on to one of our partner universities and finish your university education there. In the meantime, you get 2 degrees. So, for example, we have a dual degree program with the University of with Cornell University, where you start at Jindal. You start your law program here at Jindal. You stay 4 years here, and then you go to Cornell, which, by the way, is one of the best law schools in the United States. And then in 2 years' time from there, you get a JD as well. That's the second. The third aspect that sets us apart is our faculty. Now, we've made it a point to have smaller classes. We've made it a point to have more one-on-one learning. Means now that we have a faculty-student ratio of 1:9. Just to put things in perspective, the UGC mandates a 1:18. We say that that's not good enough. You need to have more faculty members per student. So therefore, we've kept our faculty-student ratio really low.
Yeah, no, that is very low. I think that's an excellent ratio, and I've actually personally seen how the classes are conducted, and they are very small and private classes, and I feel that it gives a lot of access, for students, to the faculty because they of course have a smaller classroom, and plus they get the office hours to go and ask questions if they want. Maybe that's one of the other things you can tell us about. So I studied at Michigan and Columbia, and we had smaller class rates. And one of the things that really helped a lot, during that time was that we could very easily access and just send an email to a professor or reach out to them, and they would just tell us, okay, the deadline can be extended, or there's a situation. And I think that they've been very accessible. How is it at OP Jindal Global University?
So we all live together. Let's start with that. All of our faculty members and students live literally within a kilometer of each other.
It's a community.
It's a community by itself. It's a self-contained city by itself.
That's right.
A lot of faculty members live on campus. For some faculty members who prefer staying off campus, we stay literally 10 minutes away, right? So It is unusual for students and faculty to meet over, let's say, dinner in the university mess. And you'll often have, let's say, tutorial hours being scheduled at between 10 and 11 p.m. That's not unusual at all.
Sure.
And because we're a fairly young faculty. So the average age of our faculty members is around 37. So what makes us is that we're more accessible to our students. We kind of get what our students are talking about, right?
Yeah.
When a student says, "Oh my God, that's so late," I know what that student is talking about, right?
Because we've been through that process.
Yes, exactly. That process. So our faculty members are pretty much available 24/7. In terms of extension of deadlines, well, as long as we don't compromise on academic integrity, which is really, really important for us.
Absolutely.
And when somebody graduates from JGU, they carry with them, certain attributes. And while deadlines are flexible, and in fact, at this point of time, with the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown situation that we have, well, pretty much everything has an extension right now. So
how are you handling that? It's very good. So right now the students have left the campus. There's faculty still on the campus. How's the situation right now at
right? So because all of our students and faculty live on campus together, we became a high risk location for any disease. So what we did was we shut down, we suspended classes, and we brought forward the summer break. We brought it forward by 2 months.
Okay.
So currently there are no classes happening, whether on campus or online. And there's a reason why we're not doing online classes. And we will reconvene again on 4th of May. We will have about 6 to 7 weeks of classes, followed by exams, and then we close out the fall semester, the spring semester. And then again, we will reconvene for the new year, the new academic year, in August 2020.
Okay, so that's the situation as of now. That's what you all have decided, which I think is fair enough, because I feel everyone needs that 2 months right now.
Well, we looked at the online solution, and you could call it a fortunate or an unfortunate event, but or a situation. But we've got students from all parts of India. We've got students coming as far away from as let's say Arunachal or even Ladakh, where internet connectivity is fairly problematic, right? And again, the internet depends upon your electricity supply. So if your electricity supply is intermittent, the experience that you will have on an online class
it's constrained. No, I completely agree. It's constrained, and so no, that's. I'm sure that you've taken that decision based on the larger, diversity of the audience that you have. And maybe you can, as we're talking about this, you can talk about the diversity, because you have so many programs, you have so many schools.
That's right.
So that automatically means you have diversity from across all over India. So how many cities would it be, if you had to look at it?
I wouldn't be able to count. I would not be able to count.
So I'm assuming this is northwards of 50 or 60 cities.
I'd say northwards of about 200.
Wow.
And we're talking about tier 3, tier 4 cities.
Wonderful. Right. That's incredible. I think that's one of the most diverse campuses that I have ever been to. And I must say that, because there are universities that have diverse campuses, but 200, it's incredible.
I mean, I can show you the data if you'd like, and happy to share that with you. But yeah, we get students from all over India, all over the world. We've had students coming in from Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh. These are the primary where we get international students from. We've also got a fair number of students from Africa, from Nigeria, Kenya, from Madagascar. And we're looking to further diversify our student population.
And other students who've come in and who've gone for the break, many of them have returned back to their home countries because of the situation.
That's right. We've ensured that each of our international students who come in from various parts of the world, including Germany, Sweden, and the United States, they've all gone back home safely, and we're just battening down the hatches, as it were.
Sure. And I'm sure that one of the bigger questions that many of the audiences also have is that how do you see that, the admissions for the fall semester upcoming, how are they going to be affected with this whole situation? Because, many of them have not been able to give the CBSE exams, for instance. There are concerns there. So how are you handling that bit of it?
All right, so I can see on the chat on the right hand side of the screen is
Yeah,
that there's a lot of people asking this question. And first of
totally.
all, to all of you listening, don't panic, right?
Yes.
It's all under control, right? Our admissions process continues as it was earlier. We've just moved everything online. So instead of me speaking to you in an auditorium, it's me speaking to you through a webcam.
Yes.
Instead of interviews being taken by faculty members um, face to face, it's going to be taken via Skype or via Google Hangouts or whatever other platform we choose to use, right? One question that I'm seeing a lot from students over here is about exams getting cancelled.
Yes.
I can tell you right now that the entrance exam that we have for the law school, the LSAT, we're taking to Pearson View, and we're trying to make it online. We are. Of course, Pearson View is going to discuss this internally and get back to us, after which we can let you know. In the meantime, what we expect is that the LSAT will be shifted further, perhaps to May or even June, right? Which still gives us plenty of time to reconvene classes in August. So don't panic. For the other exams, for the other programs that we have, we use our very own homegrown exam called JSAT.
Yes.
Again, there's no need to panic. You can sit for the JSAT at any point of time. You simply have to register yourself with Pearson View, apply for the JSAT exam. They usually require a 48-hour window where between your application and your actual exam, you'll be told where your test center is. Simply go there at the appointed time, at the appointed date, in the appointed test center, and sit for the exam. I realize this is not the time to go out and do a JSAT exam. It's not advisable at all. However, that does not stop our admissions process, right? We are continuing to reach out to students who have applied, getting them faculty interviews, and we're willing to offer provisional
Admissions.
conditioned upon sitting and clearing the JSAT exam at some point of time in the future. When that time is in the future, it's too early to tell. We're adopting a wait and watch policy, and we are still rolling out admission letters conditional upon clearing the JSAT at a much later time. So that's fine. Nobody
So
should.
I think your concerns, I think, also would be one is that you have the LSATs also, and I think that's where a lot of students are a little bit more worried about, because I think that the law school has almost 600, right? Application it sort of admits, and applications would be a lot more. So I think they would be also fairly concerned, in terms of how is that going to sort of work? Is that also going to be similar in a sense, or how would you see that falling in place?
Well, like I said, we do expect the LSAT to be taken at some point of time.
Okay.
It will be delayed, whether it's the LSAT for the 5-year program where we take in 600 students, or whether it's for the LLM program where we take in about 50, 60 students. It will be delayed. It might be even in sometime late June, but it will happen.
So, but in that case, would you give any provisional admissions, or would you wait until the LSATs are given, and then you would how is that going to happen?
All right. So, in terms of our provisional admissions for the law school, unfortunately, we're not in a position to, how should I put it, sort of work around this pandemic. The Bar Council of India regulates the law school fairly heavily, and they require an All India exam to take place. Now, that's a regulatory requirement that we cannot, unfortunately,
Right.
Exactly. We can't really move around that.
So we're in extraordinary times today.
We are in extraordinary times.
I can imagine that there will be some kind of a roundabout, if not maybe taking the exam online, because I'm just giving you an example of what the AP. So College Board has this AP exam called the Advanced Placement Exam, and what they've done is that's typically about a 3.5-hour exam, but they saw about they have a total of 30,000 students that are taking that across the world. And what they did is that instead of changing it, they made it a 45-minute format, and they can take it online. So I'm sure that there could be some provisional measures that might
Yeah,
come across, which you might see, because as is an extraordinary time for all of us. But thank you for letting the audience know, because I think it's important for them to know. Most of them are anxious. I can see so many of them just writing in, asking about the same question: is the JSAT necessary for admission? That's what one of them have actually written. And even this time the IGCSE and IB exams are cancelled. They're not
yeah.
postponed. They're actually cancelled.
Now, so let me just jump in right there. For the IB students, we have I believe they're going to use their predicted scores as the final result.
Yes.
Again, we're happy to accept predicted scores. These are extraordinary times, which require extraordinary measures.
Great. So this is going to be also an evolving situation, as I understand. And so, are your deadlines going to be the same? Or are you going to make it rolling? How are you going to work with that as well?
So we've already moved to a rolling admissions.
Okay.
We're no longer looking at sort of admission periods. And I think right now it's very important for our applicants to be told that you don't have to wait for so long. It's an anxious period of time. There's no point in adding to our applicants' anxiety.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
usually, we're doing a rolling admission, because you don't have to sit for the JSAT. So it's simply apply online, admissions.jgu.edu.in, apply online, put in your application. You will need to write a statement of purpose and a few additional questions. One of our admissions counselors will get in touch with these aspirants and connect them to a faculty member for an interview.
Lovely. And TNI Career Counselling is happy to help any of the students if they need with their statement of purposes or anything of that sort. We'd be happy to help you all out. To make sure that you get to the admission officers as well. So we're happy to help them out with that. But yes, as we look at the situation evolving, I appreciate your candor and being able to highlight all this information, because I think that's extremely important. And I think we've already seen almost 35 queries, just revolving around the process and what's really going to happen. And is there any advice do you have for students who are sitting at home today? For many of them who are sitting through this process, maybe there are some few words that you can offer to them before I move on to ask about more about the university.
Sure. Well, for those of you who are sitting at home, again, don't panic, right? This is a situation that we will get over. Right now, your board exams have been delayed. We don't know whether they'll get delayed further. Focus on your studies. Use this time to brush up on whatever career options that you have with you. If you are applying to JGU, make sure that you know the school that you're applying to, and if possible, get in touch with your admissions counselor. Figure out who is the faculty member and what kind of questions they're likely to ask. If you're writing a number of SOPs for different universities, again, there's help always available, as Dhaval has pointed out. So reach out to them and basically do the best that we can sitting at home. So right now, the problem is not that we don't have enough time. The problem is that we have too much time, and how do we fill that time? And we must endeavor to ensure that we fill our days in the next 3 weeks with things that
And I think many of them should also plan a little bit, because if you're looking at a 21-day a lockout, then probably anything that you need in terms of home. I know I live in a community here where we have about 450 apartments, and we've seen some people who stopped coming onto work, and we as a society are sort of helping each other out in ways that we can. So I think that's definitely very community in one way today. Of course, as very well stated, that anyone who's above 60 years old and 10 years or younger should actually try and stay at home, not venture outside, and whoever else is a part of it can actually help them out. So that's definitely it. One of the other, very fundamental questions I have is, of course, whenever I've been on campus, I've seen that, there are vending machines with healthy food. I was amazed and pleasantly amazed, and I feel it's great to see that kind of a culture where healthy foods on campus. You've got great food facilities. I've seen the mess. It's great. I think it's so well organized. I would love that you could talk a little bit more about that.
Sure, sure. So we do have a very vibrant campus life. Let's start with the food. So for those of us who've been to sort of public-funded universities, we know what hostel food means, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And well, when I joined Jindal University about 7 years back, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that the quality of food in universities has changed, or maybe it's just JGU. The only problem that students have with our mess food is that it's vegetarian, right?
Yes.
And it is all vegetarian. Having said that, however, we have a separate food court, sort of like a bistro. We call it the BCOM bistro, where we've got a number of outside vendors who cook and prepare and serve food, including Domino's, Kiventas, 36 Torringham Lane, Punjabi by Nature, Subway. And because we have Domino's, we can't get in a Pizza Hut, but our students want a second pizza place as well. Vending machines, interestingly, however, the healthy option vending machines, that was actually driven by the students themselves.
Oh, fantastic. Right? Wow.
So because of our sporting facilities on campus, and we have a cricket field, we have a couple of football fields, volleyball, basketball, Olympic-sized swimming pool.
I saw tennis. You have tennis as well.
That's right. So our students are incredibly active in terms of sports.
Absolutely.
And they're very health conscious, which is why, if it's, let's say, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, you're feeling, you get the munchies, right? Don't eat junk food. Have something healthy instead, right?
No, I think that's a brilliant idea. I love that on campus. And one of the other things that I saw also on campus is when I went ahead and everyone is very accessible. I saw the faculties, and I went and met them, and I think most of them have a PhD.
Yeah.
That's incredible. To see that they're so humble with having all the education, with having everything. They're so accessible and humble. I love to see that.
I'm glad you said that, Dhaval. One interesting thing about our faculty members are that most of them, I'd say about 95% of our faculty members, either have an educational qualification from abroad or they've worked abroad. So that's that global perspective that we bring. So for example, I went to Tulane University to do my master's. I'm one of those few faculty members that don't have a PhD, by the way. And then I worked in New York on Wall Street. I worked in London, and then I came back to India. So as an example, I can tell you that most of our faculty members have that global experience or that global expertise.
Absolutely, and you have both sides because you've been teaching as well, and
yes.
Then you're kind of heading admissions. So I think you have a very good overview of what JGU has been and what it's evolving into becoming. And I think that's a great stage to be at because you've actually seen the students across. How many years have you been at JGU?
I've been at JGU for 7 years now. Before that, I was working in a law firm. I was a partner at a law firm. So those of you who are watching or listening, if you've seen Suits, I was Harvey Specter, or I led the life of Harvey Specter. So I did corporate law for 7 years, and now I teach corporate law, whatever I've learned in my 7 years of industry practice, to my students. But at JGU, we make it a point that our governance at the top levels, whether it's head of admissions, head of career development, head of our international collaborations, they're all headed by faculty members. Because at the end of the day, it's the faculty members who are in touch with the students on a daily basis. So they understand what the students require. They understand what the students want, right? And it's a better connect to figure out, policies for these departments where, I know what a student would feel if classes got canceled due to an epidemic or a force majeure event. By the way, it's happened before. In 2014, we were under lockdown for a week due to the JAT agitation. So we've been
right. So you've already been through that. Okay.
Yeah.
No. It's just that this one is more prolonged.
This is slightly more prolonged. That's right.
Yeah. And so there's a question that I have here that someone's talking about the PhD admissions. How does that get affected? Is that anything different than what you said?
Absolutely not. Our PhD admissions are again on a rolling basis. Put in your application on the portal, and one of our admissions counselors will be with you shortly.
Lovely. Also, another thing, which I was incredibly satisfied with when I was on campus was really getting access to the career placement office. It was lovely to see the energy that you have there. And it was lovely to see the fact that, when I was talking to them, and you have a very senior member who has over 30 years of experience.
Yeah.
And he, you all bring over 300 companies on campus.
Yes, we do.
Maybe you can talk about a little bit more about how that process works across all colleges.
Sure. So as part of our ethos or part of our policy, we require that our students do at least 2 internships, irrespective of how many years they're here, whether they're here for a 3-year undergrad program or a 4-year or a 2-year postgraduate program, right? And we use these internships to ensure that our students get placed finally. And those students that eventually apply for placement, a very, very high percentage of them do get placed through on-campus events. But interestingly enough, we get a lot of placements through our internships. So when you go and work at one of these 300 companies that have come on campus, and they're looking for internships during the summer break or the winter break, and you go and work with them, it's more likely that they'll call you back. And that's a trend that we're seeing increasingly over these years. Of course, we hold on-campus events as well, where we'll have 0-day placements, where we'll have we'll have people coming in, doing group interviews, doing group discussions, doing interviews, and then rolling out offers of employment. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. No, I think having 2 internships, I think, is brilliant, because that really introduces a lot of them to the areas that students might want to consider as careers as they move along.
That's right.
I know that helps them tremendously to make the decision of a certain career area, whether if it's banking or finance, or whether it's going to be liberal arts.
Sure.
And I feel that increasingly the focus has been on how do you help them really find their calling. So that it becomes easier then to help them getting placed.
Right.
That's sort of very important as a career cell.
Sure.
So one of the other things that I also noticed is that is there any top employers that you see at JGU, whether it's for law or for business, maybe some of them that you can share.
All right. So for the law school, I can tell you that we've had both the top tier law firms as well as the as some of the top international law firms. In fact, right now we've got about 8 or 9 students who are working in various parts of the world, including London, New York, and we've started doing alumni chapters there now in London and New York. In terms of the business school, we are looking at a number of startups have come on campus, and they're hiring from us. But very importantly, if you look at the largest companies that India has,
yes,
right? In terms of, let's say, Reliance, in terms of Amazon, in terms of Google, in terms of the big 4 consulting firms, EY, PwC, Deloitte, all of them have hired from JGU.
Yeah,
right?
I even saw Kotak, I saw Britannia, I saw PVR, I saw so many of them. I think it's incredible. But yeah, so these ones that you mentioned was probably the larger ones that actually come in and recruit. That's fantastic. That's a brilliant number of employers that you have access to. I think that's incredible. Very helpful for students. Also, is there a process that you follow? Do you all have career fairs? Even after the internships, how do you promote the full-time placements?
Right. So our career services team follows a fairly thought out plan. So for each batch that comes in, they'll first go through a process of they'll go through workshops on
Sure.
how to write a CV, on how to face interviews, how to deal with group discussions, right?
Yes.
We do sessions on how to land a pre-placement offer. So if you're doing an internship, what should you be doing in the internship to land that pre-placement offer, right? And that's just preparation, right? Once students are prepared to face these interviewers, that's when we'll have career fairs on campus. Students are notified well in advance. Students who are interested, their CVs are sent out. Now, these CVs, again, have been worked upon by the students in consultation with the careers office. And then they're sent out to these interviewers, these potential employers. And by the time they come on campus, they know exactly who they want to interview. They know exactly who they want to interact with. And that takes place over a couple of days.
That's incredible. So that's actually a very, very thought about process. I personally like to hear the fact that, there is a lot of emphasis given to, this kind of a process where, you actually have access to a lot more through the career office. And I think it's very methodical. Also, what I saw is that you have facilities for actually stay closer to campus. So I'm sure that if parents come in or and student housing as well. Maybe if you can share more information on that. I think
that's important. That is important. In terms of student housing, all of our students have to stay on campus. That's a rule that we follow. There's 24/7 hot and cold water, 24/7 centrally conditioned, air-conditioned rooms, and yes, we have a 15 Mbps internet speed. In fact, I am sitting in my office right now because my home internet is a little slower than what we have here. So student housing is shared. It's shared between either 3 people or 4 people or 2 people sometimes. So for senior students, we'll have a 2 sharing. For mid-level and junior students, we'll have a 3 or a 4 sharing. Again, each of these we've now got 10 hostels. Unfortunately, they're all gender segregated, and I'm sure for the parents who are watching, that's a fortunate bit of news. We make it a point that students are safe in their hostels. Disciplinary infractions are taken very seriously. Unfortunately, we've had some students who don't follow the spirit or the letter of the law, and unfortunately, over the years, we've had to take some very, very stern measures against our students.
Do you want to probably talk about how these are addressed in some ways? So maybe that will sort of help.
Sure. I'm going to be a little candid here. I'm going to go on a limb and say that issues of tobacco, alcohol, and substance abuse, these are issues that face every university across the world, right? And we both studied in universities abroad, and we know that how problematic it can be. We rely on our students to self-discipline themselves, and whatever it is that you're doing, please do it outside the university. We do not want anything on campus. I'll give you an example which was in the news a few years back. Some of our students had gone to Himachal Pradesh to pick up contraband items, and they were caught at the border, at the state border. They were arrested and they were put behind bars because of the volume of the amount of contraband items they were carrying. Again, that's not something we tolerate at all on campus.
Absolutely.
So we have a very strict no cigarettes, no tobacco, no alcohol, no substance abuse on campus.
And so I'm so glad that you're actually being very candid about this. At least everyone who's here, they understand that how seriously you actually take this. So for those students who went through this, which you just mentioned, were you able to sort of support them through this? And how did you all act also? Because that'll also help many of the parents put their mind to rest in terms of how do you all really take decisions when a situation like this arises.
Well, we maintain close ties with the local law enforcement officers.
Sure.
We maintain good ties with the government of Haryana as well.
Sure.
And in the situation where our students are detained, there's very little you can do, really. Yeah. And let the law take its course. And once the law has taken its course, we will then then took a call whether or not they would continue their studies here at JGU. Well, they decided that they would not continue their studies here at JGU, so they've left basically.
Wow. Okay. So no, I think this is good. It's very important to take a decision in in perspective and for the larger community. And I think that it's very good to know that the steps that the school is taking, and the communication is very clear. As you just made it. I think it's very important that this should be done.
If I may just add one more thing, again, to all of our viewers who are watching this or listening in, I mean, at the end of the day, these are decisions that we take, and as adults, we are responsible for the decisions that we do, that we take, and it's very, very important for us to understand that every act that we do, every word that we speak, every decision that we take, each of that will have a repercussion. And as adults, we must stand up to that repercussion, right? Anyway, Dhaval, you had another question.
No. So no, this is great. I think it's so important to learn about the culture of universities, and I feel that that's so important. And I think that's what even made me select the universities that I actually went to.
Yeah.
It's essentially the culture, the peer group, the network. I think maybe the alumni, maybe what you could do is really talk about the alumni at JGU, because I'm sure many of them are in such incredible places and have done so much and have achieved so much. And I think I know one personally, myself, and Mishal Nathani, who was a part of the law program for 5 years, and he's got admission to business school through deferred admission. And I think that it's incredible to see the alumni across the world that you have who've achieved a great depths of success. And I think that it'll be great if you can throw some light on that as well.
Sure. One thing we've noticed with our alumni, and this is perhaps because of the sort of open and diverse nature of our education here, a lot of them turn to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
One of our alumni came back to our university and set up a startup lab where now he incubates other startups. I don't know if you've heard of this brand called Sleepy Owl.
Yes, I have. Oh, yes.
The cold coffee started by again, our alumni, right?
Oh,
we have another alumni who I personally taught. Again, he's a law student who set up his own sort of AI-based, so artificial intelligence-based law firm. It is India's only artificial intelligence-based law firm, right? So we see our alumni in not high places yet. I mean, we are a 10-year-old university, and most of our alumni who have graduated in the initial years, they are now at mid-level positions. But what we're seeing from a very small and a very young alumni group is that they're not afraid to take risks. They're not afraid to venture out into places that would otherwise they wouldn't even consider, right? So, for example, one of our alumni from the liberal arts program, she went on to study public policy at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at the National University of Singapore, Asia's #1 public policy school. I wish I could say that JSGP, our public policy school, is #1, but I can't say that. It'll get there someday.
I'm sure it will.
So she went to Kuan Yew, and now she's doing public policy advocacy at Google. And a couple of weeks back, she wrote to me saying, "Hey, Professor, I know you might have to move to online. Do you want to use, these are the Google products that we have, and I'd just like you to take a look at these products and see if you want to use them for the university." And to me, that sort of connect that we still have with our alumni is great. So they're not at very high level places yet, because they're still very, very young.
But the connect is very high. I think that's very, very important.
And
I feel if you have the connect, and I'm sure you went to Tulane, but I'm sure you're still connected to Tulane or the alumni group, or and I think that connect really helps you so much more, because I'm sure that as the university grows and you see this alumni, I think really having that access, for even the current students, it's not just the peer group, but even the alumni as they grow, who can provide access to the current students
Sure.
different opportunities as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we actually have a few alumni coming in from time to time, talking about their experiences in the outside world and helping our students prepare for what lies beyond university. Most of the connect, however, Dhaval, and I should point this out, that again, because of the connection between faculty and students, the
Yes.
connect is through the faculty, right? So
Sure.
so when we do an alumni meet, let's say in Delhi or in Mumbai or in Bangalore or even in London, the students who are there, they will call up the faculty member and say, "Hey, professor, are you going to be there? I haven't seen you in ages." And that's the kind of sort of warm, fuzzy sort of connect, if I could call it that we have between our faculty members and students.
That's incredible. And I think that, if you have that, that keeps you going for, I mean, you're going to be on campus either for 4 years, 5 years.
That's right.
What's the maximum you think that you have students go in and stay at JJU? I mean, how long has it been?
That's a good question. I think the maximum somebody stayed on campus right now is about 6 years. So well, hang on. There is this one student. There's this one student who came in to do our bachelor's in global arts, in global affairs, on to do a master's in diplomacy, law, and business, again from our international affairs school, and is presently pursuing his PhD.
Oh wow! Oh,
yeah. Campus is pretty much home.
He's a veteran now.
He's a veteran. I have with me, in fact, I should tell you this as well, one of our MBA students who recently graduated, and he was, again, he's a bit of an entrepreneur himself, and he actually got to meet Bill and Hillary Clinton as part of the Clinton Foundation. There was this competition for social innovation where he was one of the finalists. And we actually hired him. So he's on campus too. We hired him as part of our admissions team. His name is Abhishek Ganesh, and I'm sure you'll come across him at some point in time.
Oh, no, I look forward to it.
He's a great guy. Yeah.
That's amazing. So we do have, if you do is just work across the programs a little bit more, maybe just summarize programs that you have. You have 8 colleges, and maybe it'll be a great idea as sort of a concluding point for everyone.
So all in all, we offer 22 programs for this year, of which 17 are undergraduate and the remainder are postgraduate. So our undergraduate courses, we'll start with the law school. We offer a 5-year BA LLB program, a 5-year BBA LLB program. We also offer a 3-year LLB program for people who already have a bachelor's degree, and for people who already have a law degree, we also offer a 1-year LLM program. This year, however, we are starting a new program in the law school called the BA Honors in Legal Studies. Now, what we've realized over the years is that a law degree or an introduction to law can be the pathway to many other careers. For example, if law school teaches you how to analyze complex text, then you can use that for qualitative studies in a different stream, perhaps even an MBA. We do offer an MBA, of course, through our business school. That's the eligibility for that is an undergrad degree in any discipline. We do accept scores from CAT, MAT, and XAT, as well as the JSAT. We also offer for our undergrad programs in the business school, we offer a 3-year BBA honors and a 5-year integrated BBA MBA program.
MBA program, yeah.
Moving on to our yes.
How many students would you have in that? Because I feel it's fairly high, right? The number of BBA students you have, and then the integrated course. So how many do you see? Maybe that would also be a great.
So our integrated course is one of a kind in India. There are very few universities in India that have an integrated BBA MBA. I think IIM, one of the IIMs have it.
They do. That's right.
So the BBA class itself, the 3-year course, that is about 150 to 200 students.
Yeah.
Right? And we've been growing over the years. The integrated BBMBA, we call it the IBM.
Yeah.
It is the integrated program in business management. That is typically kept fairly small. We have about 90 students in there, right? So we're very, very selective in our 5-year IBM program.
Absolutely, and I think that makes sense. I could see that that it formulates, because it should be competitive in a sense also, right? While you're taking MBA, and then if it's just the MBA, how big would it be?
So the MBA again is about 90 students, and we do not plan to increase it any more from that.
Fantastic.
Again, the MBA is fairly selective as well. Yeah.
As you were suggesting, so the law school seems to be the highest amount,
yes,
with 600, and then the BBA would be the next, and then post that would be liberal arts program.
So we run the bachelor program in liberal arts. It's a 3-year program where we take in only 120 students. I should hasten over here saying that even though our intake might seem very large, as in 120 students, our class sizes do not exceed 30 in the liberal arts program.
That's what we do.
More than 30 students in the classroom.
That's incredible, yeah.
We also have 3-year programs in global affairs. So that's a BA in global affairs offered by our international affairs school. Again, one of its kind. There's no other university in India that offers a BA in global affairs, particularly for students who are interested in careers in international relations, perhaps moving on to the Ministry of External Affairs. This could be fairly useful. We are starting a new program in the International Affairs School this year. This is the BA in Political Science.
Mm-hmm.
Again, 3-year course. We're looking at, again, a very small class size, no more than 60 students. We also have a master's program in diplomacy, law, and practice. Again, one of a kind in India. There's no other master's program that actually talks about the interdisciplinarity between these three disciplines, which is diplomacy, law, and practice, and business, and the three are actually fairly intertwined. We have India's first public policy school, the Jindal School of Governance and Public Policy. Sure. There are 2 programs at the undergrad level and 2 programs at the postgrad level. The 2 programs at the undergrad level are BA Economics and a BA in Social Science and Policy. Again, so for those aspirants who are looking for BA Economics, there is a quantitative aspect to the BA Economics program, which means that you will need to know a little bit of maths to qualify for this program. Just putting that out there. Again, class sizes are fairly small. We don't take in more than 100 students in either of these programs. For the postgraduate programs in the Governance and Public Policy School, again, there are 2 of them. One is a Master's in Public Policy, India's first Master's in Public Policy program. Again, fairly small, no more than 50 students. And this year, we're starting an MA in Economics. We've already talked about the liberal arts school. There's a Journalism and Media Studies program offered by our journalism school. I should mention here that about half of our faculty members in the journalism school are all journalists or used to be journalists. For example, the vice dean of the journalism school, he spent about 7 years researching and reporting on Naxalbari, for example, right?
Wow.
Naxalite movement.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We have the associate dean who takes care of the journalism school's careers, used to be an anchor for NDTV Profit, right? So that's the level of faculty members that we're bringing in terms of our journalism school. The dean of the journalism school was also the dean of the journalism school in Berkeley, as well as in Columbia, Tom Goldstein. So the Journalism and Media Studies School, again, 3-year program in journalism and media studies, fairly small class size. We don't take in more than 100 students. We have a lot of people say, oh, you have a standard BCOM program, but it's not run through our business school. It's run by our banking and finance school. And this BCOM program is unlike any other. We've actually brought in ENY and Deloitte to co-teach some courses with us.
Oh, that's
So at the
incredible.
end of these courses, you get a certification from ENY and Deloitte. Courses are taught in fintech, in blockchain, in artificial intelligence. So we're sort of looking forward into the 21st century towards a $5 trillion economy and what role technology will play in commerce.
I had a very interesting question that one of the students also asked is, how is the placement for journalism and media studies?
This year, we'll have our first batch graduating.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say that about 80% of our batch has been placed.
Fantastic.
Again, with media houses like Indian Express, Times of India, so on and so forth, right?
One of the things I was also going to ask you, which we missed in the earlier interaction, was scholarships. Because I think that there's also a lot of scholarships that you all do give to deserving students.
We do have we do give scholarships to students that meet our means come merit requirement. So
Yes.
we believe that no student should go without a quality education if they can't afford it. So we have a means come merit system where we look at students' qualifications. We look at their marks in class 10, class 11, board exams, their JSAT score, their performance in the faculty interview, right? And then we control it for a need-based system where we ask for the parents' income tax returns. And based on the parents' income, as well as the students' performance in the admissions process, we give them some form of scholarship. Now, not all students are given scholarship. About 60 to 65% of our students are on some form of scholarship on campus. This could range from as much as 100% of the tuition fee to let's say 10% or 5% of the tuition fee. Again, depending upon their performance and their parents' income.
I still think that's incredibly generous. That's incredibly generous. I think that's very good to hear for a lot of them, because honestly, looking at the campus, looking at the qualities, looking at everything that you provide, I think that and a scholarship, I think it's a no-brainer. For a lot of students to be able to get access to that quality. I think I've heard across the whole session how you've been so transparent with everything that happens on campus and the programs, that I think that an education at OP Jindal Global University would be a no-brainer for a lot of them. To consider any one of your programs, because I can see that you have almost everything that one would want from a university.
Thank you for saying so.
Yeah, no, I truly believe, and trust me, I've been to over 100 campuses, and I think that you have a very beautiful campus, and it's well integrated, and you have a little bit of a township there where all the faculty are living to. There's incredible access given, and of course you're always going to have upsides and downsides. So if you look at if you look today at universities across the world, and maybe those like Harvard, which are well known, or the Ivy Leagues, they have been around for anywhere between 300 to 400 years, maybe some of them lesser, maybe 200 years.
Harvard is actually older than the country it is in.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at that, you're what you're establishing here is that for 10 years, I think OP Jindal Global University has done amazingly well.
Thank you for saying so. No, I should add here that thank you for saying all these nice things, and we've actually achieved what is considered by many around the world to be impossible. We broke into the QS World University rankings last year, and we were the only private university from India to do so. And again, we're the youngest university in the world to break into these rankings.
Yeah, I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. You're at the helm of it now, leading the admissions. So I'm sure there's a lot more exciting times for you.
Now the question in terms of rankings is to maintain them or to keep going up, and it is an uphill battle. But given that we've been consistently, building, our reputation has been going up, both with our academic peers across the world as well as with employers. we've consistently kept a low faculty-student ratio. These are all factors that, matter in terms of university rankings.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you again. I think that this has been an extremely amazing. I really enjoyed talking about everything that you have to offer at OP Jindal Global University. And thank you so much, Ruth, that TNI Career Counselling is a global admissions venture for India and abroad for undergraduate, masters, and MBA. We follow ethical counseling and are a member of the NACAC with Columbia University certified counselors and experts, many of who have studied in India and abroad. And we hope to work with students to take any such questions that they have for admissions and help them with their SOP statements, and also, if they have any confusion about which programs to pick. So thank you again, and it's been a pleasure.